to your squats, okay? We are working mainly our quads and glutes, all right? They're our big focuses, and the rest of the body is going to be working too. So everything has to be switched on, has to be focusing big time, and here is your squat 101. If you've done it with us before, you can skip to where you choose the squat you're gonna do. You've got 4 options. With your setup for the squat, our feet start roughly hip width apart, toes ever so slightly out. For you, this might be different because your hip anatomy is going to be different to mine and different to the person stood next to you, different to the person you see on Instagram. So you might be really narrow, you might be really wide. Personally, I'm about here when I do my squat. Okay, as I do my squat, I'm thinking about 3 main things, and it's going to be my elbows, or my back nice and tight, my knees screwing into the floor or ripping the floor apart to get my glutes working, and then a big breath in and bracing like someone's going to punch me in the stomach, okay? So I'm going to go from the very start again. With those feet in our comfortable squat position that's personal to you, you are going to do one of 2 things. So feet are coming in and out like so, and we're going to turn our feet out, so we're screwing into the floor, and you should feel your bum turn on. Okay, that's your first option, and you'll maintain that through a whole squat. The second option is you're going to imagine that you're stood on 2 big sheets of toilet paper. There's a zippered line all the way down the middle. As you do your squat this time, you're going to rip the floor apart and rip that zippered line, okay, and that is going to get the same outcome, but you might feel better with one of them. It's really important that the whole time you keep your feet grounded. So if you're going to look at my shoe here, alright, down at the bottom, you've got 3 points of contact, okay? That big toe, alright, little toe, and then your heel, alright? So I'll take my shoes off for the rest of this, but make sure you're nice and grounded and rooted to the floor the whole time. So my preference is to rip the floor apart. So what I'm going to do is get grounded with my feet in my squat position. I'm going to rip the floor apart, my back is tight, big breath in and brace. I'm going to sit down nice and low. I squat as low as I can without my heels coming up or my back rounding forwards, okay? You want to stay as tight as possible with our upper back and upper body staying in one position the whole time. With the breath, you can take a big breath in at the top and brace. I'm going to punch you in the stomach so we're nice and solid. You hold that breath from the start all the way down to the bottom, drive up and exhale as you stand to the top here. If you struggle to think about where you're breathing, think about being in a swimming pool. This is your water height here. Big breath in, go down underwater, and then breathe out as you come to the surface. And that is your squat 101.
Alright, so once you have progressed from your bodyweight squat, we have 4 variations that we can choose from to increase the intensity.
First one is going to be your goblet squat. So you've got a dumbbell in hand, and you hold it nice and high and easiest to load.
Option number 2 is going to be your low bar, where you will use a barbell, load on your rear delts on your back, and have a bit more of a glute emphasis.
Into your front squat, okay, so our barbell is racked across the front of the shoulders, keeps our torso really upright, and our knees travel forwards a lot and keeps the quad.
And then option number 4 is your hybrid, where you've got a bit of quads and glutes, where we're doing a high bar squat, where the bar will rest on your traps with the barbell.
Working muscles for our goblet squats, going to be our quads, rest of the legs are going to come in too, and a bit of core to stabilize. We're going to set up with a plate on the floor, and then our heels are going to sit on top of that plate. We're holding our dumbbell up in that goblet hold, so imagine you're holding a big goblet of your favorite beverage. Elbows are nice and tight. So the reason we have those heels elevated is so that we can keep our torso upright in this squat. So we're going to push those knees forward over those toes, aiming to get our hamstrings towards our calves. Then we're pushing the floor away to come back up. So all the way down, all the way up. The more knee over the toe here, the more quad that is going to work.
All right, crew, so when we're going for our low bar squat, we're going to be working our entire legs and body, but there's going to be an emphasis on the glutes and hammies here. So setting up, we've got our bar at about shoulder height, maybe a little bit lower. We're going to grip onto the bar so your hands are nice and even. So usually there are some little lines here, smooth and rough, that you can use as a guide. So make sure you're even, so when we step in, the bar will be even. So one foot is going to step forward, we're going to come underneath. Now for the low bar, the difference here is where the bar sits on our back. So we want to go low so that it is creating a shelf on our rear delts there, okay? So if we're up too high, we want to come down low. Here I'm going to pull my elbows back and tight. So I'm getting that nice squeeze through my back to create that shelf and stability. Now from here, I'm just going to pop up and stand tall. I will take 1, 2, 3 baby steps back. 1, 2, and setting myself up 3. Now you will notice I have a little bit of a tilt forward. That is to make sure the bar stays over my center of gravity. Now, going into our squat, everything is tight. I'm going to take my big deep breath in, brace through my core, screw my feet in or tear the floor apart. Send my hips back, maintain that tilt so that bar stays my center of gravity, drive up, stand tall. Hips back, sitting low, tear the floor apart, drive up, stand tall. When we want to walk in, we're just going to take it in, feel that bar touch, drop down, and you're done.
Okay, crew, your front squat. With this one, it's a little bit weird because the bar's going to be pressing on your neck a tiny bit, and if it's pressing just there, it's in a good position, all right? What I'm thinking is having my elbows up and pointing straight forward the whole time. If we really struggle to go elbows that high, we can cross our hands over, and that will keep them up in that position there, okay? The shelf that I've created just here is exactly where the bar's going to sit. So what I do is I put my hands just outside shoulder width, I step 1 foot under, and I come under the bar, and set it on that shelf that I just talked about. Step up, step back, 1, 2, and settle. And see how high my elbows are the whole time. From here, I go, big breath in, and brace, rip the floor apart of my feet, sit down nice and low, see how upright my torso is and how far forward my knees are, and then I come back. Walk in, hips, and we're good. Make sure the elbows don't drop through the movement, feel those quads burn. For your high bar back squat, okay, we start setting up the bar at about our shoulder height, okay? So mine is actually 1 below, all right? I love hole 25. Ideally, you'll have the numbers just here. You'll pick it every time. Where do my hands go? All right, as close as my shoulder mobility allows me, all right? If it's a bit painful and you're tight here, or we're twisting because one shoulder's tight, just take them a little bit wider, okay? So I get my hands set up as close as my shoulders will let me. Sliding in or out when I'm under the bar, okay? 1 foot goes out, in, under the bar. We look at the middle, and I put my head under, okay? When I'm in here, the bar sits across my upper traps, all right? Not on the bone at the top of my neck, okay? Across my traps there, all right? And I squeeze my back nice and tight. So shoulders are back and down. I step up, and I come back. 1, 2, and then I settle. From here, I'm going to think about a few things. So squeeze my back tight, close my ribs, all right? So I'm in my neutral position with my spine. From there, big breath in and brace. I rip the floor apart as I sit down into my squat. I hold my breath through the whole movement, step up, breathe out. Big breath in, brace, rip the floor apart, breathe out. Okay, so I'm bracing through the whole movement, and my feet are ripping the floor apart the whole time. That is your high bar back.
For our chin-ups, our working muscles are going to be our lats, nice big muscles, bit of upper back, and then also those biceps. Setting up for our chin-ups, we're going to want our bands and probably a box or a bench if the rig is too high for you. You may also be on the assisted chin-up machine if you are in your gym. So we're going to step up on the bench and we're going to pop the bands up and over. From here, we're going to take the long end and loop it through, pull down, and ensure that it is nice and tight at the top there. From here, with our underhand grip, we're going to pop our foot into our band. So we're going to get that foot on the midline, extend our foot, and then step down into your hanging position. We only want to put the 1 foot in the band because if we put the 2 and for some reason our hands come unstuck, then at least we have 1 foot free to catch ourselves. Right, underhand grip, chin up. So palms are going to face towards ourselves with those hands about shoulder width apart. From here, guys, we're just thinking about drawing those elbows all the way down towards our hips. So that's the main cue I want you thinking about. The chest comes up proud to that bar and we hit that nice tight position. Let's make sure we control on the way down to that dead hanging position to finish. All right, to avoid the risk of injury through that neck and upper back, let's just make sure we don't round at the top and send those elbows towards the back. So we really want to hit that nice tight position with those shoulders set back and down. No rounding.
For your barbell hip thrust, you're going to be working those glutes, all right? Other muscles around it will work too, but main focus is on those butt cheeks. For your hip thrust crew, the setup is really important. If you get this wrong, you're going to set yourself up for failure through the whole movement, okay? So start with the correct box height. If it's all the way up here, you're on a really high bench, you're screwed from the get-go, okay? So just find something, it might be a decline bench or a perfect box like this, or a bigger jump box, something that will sit just below your shoulder blades when you're nice and close to it with your bum, all right? From there, your legs will be straight, okay? And you're gonna slide your heel in to around your knee, all right? So around there, perfect, all right? And then you bring the other foot to join, and then you will have a bar in there, but for now, Lana's gonna cross her hands over, chin tucks down, abs are on, and she scoops up, squeezing her butt cheeks nice and tight as she gets to the top. So you'll see here, heels are pretty much under the knee. If you feel your quads, you need to move your feet a little bit further away. If you feel your hamstrings, the back of the leg, you need to bring them in a tiny bit. Micro movements will help here, and you're trying to think about working the butt cheeks the whole time. For your hip thrust, it's a full range of motion. So you want to go all the way up to the top and all the way down through every one. You can make sure you pivot forwards a little bit at the bottom, and what that does is reduce the arch in the back at the bottom. This is where people normally hurt their back in this movement, okay? Very rarely do we see it, but if they arch a lot and don't let the body come down, then they'll get it. You can rock back, but not going all the way up and arching at the top like this, because you can't squeeze your bum cheeks properly, all right? So chin down, abs on, scoop up, squeeze tight, and back down. So you've now just set up. Now we load the bar. The bar's gonna come in, you do the foot setup like we just practiced, okay, and then you're gonna have your arms on the bar, locked out so they're nice and straight, and you're gonna have your shoulders pushing down into that bar so it doesn't roll onto your tummy at the top. The bar itself will sit between your pubic bone and your hip bone, so it's not digging into any of those bones and getting uncomfortable, and then we go through the same movement, chin down, chest down, abs on, scoop up, squeeze nice and tight, lower slowly, making sure we don't have excessive arch at the bottom. At the top, really connect with those glutes, squeeze them as hard as you possibly can. If you think the squeezing, squeeze that a little bit more. Imagine you've got a 20-cent piece between those butt cheeks and you're holding it like hell. A single arm cable fly. So we're gonna isolate the pec, okay, that big juicy chest muscle there, and we're gonna use one cable at a time. We're gonna add some stability, so you will be holding on to the rig here. First of all, make sure that this is set up at about shoulder height, pec height, okay? So between your nipples and your shoulder, perfect, okay? Grab that handle in one hand, the side that you're gonna work. Step out and hold onto something for some stability. My hand is gonna face across me as I come towards my midline to pull in, and I come just past my center here. All right, that's when my pec is nice and tight. I don't need to rotate or turn or anything. It's all this pec isolating for me. So we come out, stretch the pec, and it's really gonna work that bit when I'm short, the contracted part of the chest. So I should feel it all the way through towards my midline. Control back out, breathe in. And that's gonna get you some serious chest gains. We've got a straight leg or feet up crunch. This is gonna isolate the abs. We are working on bringing nips to hips, okay? So shortening that gap between your ribs and your hips by bringing the ribs down, okay? So down on the floor here, we're gonna go with our legs up in the air. Make sure you can see me, and then hands out, and we just crunch up, shortening this gap here, around in the back as much as possible, and then back down. Tuck the chin, round up, squeeze. If that's too easy, grab a dumbbell, straight arms, and it's important that with the dumbbell, we don't put it forward so it's gonna end up helping us. We're gonna put it towards the roof.